ships to improve the efficiency of conservation of sea turtle in Central and West Africa. So thank you for being here. So to explain you the goal of this session, we will first listen to the talks from the ground, from the field, because Rastoma and Watsko are two networks from civil society networks. So we work with the communities, we work in the field on sea turtles. So we will show you through video, because many Africans weren't able to participate in this Congress because it was difficult to travel. So we decide to make something special. We record some interviews with the phone in the field, and so you will see through the video what are the concerns, what are the priorities for the field actors, and then you will have their opinion about the way to work with institution and convention, and in particular with a memorandum for sea turtle conservation in Africa, which is the Memorandum of Abidjan. So maybe we can launch, and these testimonies from the field will be the basis to discuss afterward, because in the second part of the session we will have a discussion, and during this discussion we will have people representing the Convention of Migratory Species. So we will be able to debate about the way to improve the work and how to work together, the civil society and the institutions, the international convention. So if you can send the video, and we will listen to the field actors. Thank you very much.
My name is Reynolds Ebeberry Henry. I work in the Akasa Development Foundation, and I head up the Akasa Sea Turtle Conservation Project. My name is Reynolds Ebeberry Henry. I work in the Akasa Development Foundation, and I head up the Akasa Sea Turtle Conservation Project. And then my location is in Akasa in Nigeria.
Yes.
Yeah, the major concerns for sea turtle and their habitats are, we look at fishing activities, people that uses the beaches, nesting areas have been commercialized, and then we have problems of erosion, coastal erosions, and we had problems of oil exploration and exploitation activities happening in our areas. And we have fishing trawlers fishing along beaches that turtles are coming to nest. Invariably, they cut them up along the line and they kill them or wash them ashore and then get them entangled, and then they die. So these, and we also have people poaching, killing harvesting sea turtles at the areas that they are nesting. Okay, this is a nesting beach. As a matter of fact, it is the most serene beach where we observe leatherbacks and green turtles coming to nest. It's not as busy as other beaches that we have in the Akasa area. So it's a nesting beach, and also we do bycatch release here. We also look at the problems of law enforcement. We have laws in Nigeria, but there has been no law enforcement, nobody to implement those laws. So it's actually very difficult for us to push for a way to restrain people from killing these turtles. However, we have solutions. We will be able to work with the fishing communities to see that they join in the protection of sea turtles. And we do that via strong engagements. We work with the fishing communities, and we work with local authorities to ensure that they support in the campaign against killing these sea turtles. In Akasa, for example, the ADA Akasa Development Foundation work with the Akasa people to have a local law that supports sea turtle conservation. It says that whoever that kill turtle or hunt turtle for any reason will be sanctioned. So those laws has helped us to conserve turtle in those areas. So we implement the laws locally with local interventions. First, we are a local organization. We are a community-based organization. It means we are with the people. So we expect that international conventions to be able to support our local efforts, come down to our areas of operation, call us out, bring us into the system, develop our capacities, and show us best international practices on how marine turtle conservation should be done. And it is also important for the international community to support in interventions, example, in providing direct funding that will help in data collection and data harmonization, and then bring organizations together to ensure that we are on track with the latest developments as regards marine turtle conservation. And at the regional level, it's also important for countries to have networks, like we have WASCON in West Africa, where I'm also serving as the Secretary General, to bring countries together to harmonize our data collection protocols and share an experience on how different countries are supporting in the turtle conservation activities. So those are some of the things we want conventions to support, as to keep the population of turtles and then still keep them in existence.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Jacques Dotiakiti, je suis le directeur exécutif de l'Organisation pour la conservation, la sauvegarde des ressources naturelles au Togo, dénommée Joluquest dans le passé et aujourd'hui CAAC, c'est-à-dire Community and Aquatic Area Care. Notre préoccupation actuelle sur le terrain, étant donné que nous entrons dans les périodes de nidification régulière tortue marine, consiste à renforcer, à réunir les équipes de surveillance de côte afin de sauvegarder le maximum de nids possible. Secondo, procéder à une sensibilisation de proximité des pêcheurs d'un certain type donné, ceux-là dont les pratiques de pêche impactent beaucoup les tortues marines, puis procéder à une sensibilisation, information des masses regroupées pour atteindre une couche plus importante des communautés côtières. Il urge pour nous de construire des écloseries afin d'y déplacer des nids qui sont exposés à la prédation humaine, puis motiver les pêcheurs à une plus large adhésion à la dynamique participative dans le processus de sauvetage des tortues marines, des mailles des filets. Nos attentes, que les groupes des pêcheurs et les usagers de la mer s'intègrent indépendamment au processus de la conservation de la sauvegarde des tortues marines. Nos besoins, à mon avis, s'articulent autour des moyens pour atteindre nos objectifs. Moyens financiers, je dirais, et moyens techniques. Étant organisés en réseau, les initiatives régionales doivent se référer au programme de ces réseaux afin d'atteindre les organisations membres que nous sommes. Que le mémorandum Tortue marine d'Abidjan nous aide à entreprendre des études socio-économiques sur les communautés côtières en interaction perpétuelle avec les tortues marines et développer les perspectives économiques alternatives aux activités des pêcheurs. Il peut également être utile dans l'identification des ressources et les sources de financement pour nos programmes et nous aider à mettre en application les directives pratiques permettant d'atténuer les impacts négatifs sur les tortues marines.
Je suis Alexandre, membre de l'ONG SEM, principalement le président de l'ONG SEM, SEM qui signifie conservation des espèces marines. Il faut dire que l'ONG SEM a vu le jour en 2014. Nous avons commencé nos activités de conservation depuis 2010. Nous exerçons nos activités dans la région de San Pedro, donc dans le sud-ouest de la Côte d'Ivoire, principalement à Grand Bérébi. Et donc, nos activités couvrent une zone littorale longue d'environ 30 km, avec une dizaine de communautés villageoises avec lesquelles nous travaillons. Et donc, ces activité consiste principalement en la conservation des tortues marines. Et donc, au jour d'aujourd'hui, nous avons pu arriver à, je peux dire, neutraliser totalement le braconnage au niveau de ces communautés, là, sur le long de 30 km. Mais certaines menaces persistent. Il s'agit principalement de la pêche artisanale, qui fait que nous avons beaucoup de pêches, je dis beaucoup, pas mal de pêches, surtout des juvéniles, que nous enregistrons en fin de saison chaque année. Et donc, ces prises que nous appelons les prises accidentelles sont aujourd'hui la première cause de mortalité des tortues marines, donc la plus grande menace aujourd'hui actuellement de notre zone. Et du coup, le défi pour nous aujourd'hui en tant qu'ONG, les centres de conservation à Grand Bérébi, c'est de faire en sorte que nous ayons une aire marine protégée là, afin de mieux organiser la pêche, de pouvoir protéger tous ces animaux marins là, de haute valeur qui sont bien sûr menacés. Le gouvernement qui a déjà initié en Côte d'Ivoire et surtout à Grand Bérébi la création de la première aire marine puisse voir le jour le plus tôt possible. Et donc à cet effet, l'ONGSM continue de faire des études de biodiversité marine, continue de faire ces plaidoyers là afin que nous puissions aboutir à cela. Et donc aujourd'hui, cela est notre défi le plus urgent. Les enjeux, c'est pour que ces communautés-là prennent à bras le corps le phénomène de la conservation. Et donc qu'elles deviennent les numéro 1, ces populations deviennent les numéro 1, donc être au devant de la scène. Bien sûr que l'ONG pourra les accompagner à chaque fois. Mais pour nous, c'est que c'est l'enjeu. Pour nous, c'est que la population elle-même, dans 15 ans, 20 ans, soit celles-là même qui vont plus participer aux activités de conservation. Au niveau sous-régional, c'est de maximiser les efforts communs. Donc, déjà, je pense que nous avons une bonne idée de créer il y a une plateforme qui nous réunit. C'est de pouvoir partager surtout les données et actualiser les données au fur et à mesure afin d'avoir une plateforme de données bien fournie. Ces données-là vont nous permettre certainement de mener des plaidoyers et pourquoi pas capter certaines subventions qui pourront accroître les activités de ces ONG-là au plan régional et augmenter les efforts de conservation qui sont faits ça et là. Je pense que le mémorandum d'Abidjan pour nous est capital parce qu'il faut dire que c'est ce mémorandum-là qui est un premier temps qui a inspiré l'ONGSM qui aujourd'hui a décidé de prendre son bâton de pèlerinage et de pèlerin et de mener cette activité de conservation-là. Donc le mémorandum d'Abidjan fut l'élément déclencheur. Donc pour nous, c'est quelque chose à refaire. Certainement que cela va permettre à SEM et aux ONG sœurs de pouvoir montrer les nouveaux défis auxquels font face ces espèces marines là, qui sont menacées, les tortues marines. Et donc, l'idéal serait que ce mémorandum soit remis sur pied. C'est de revoir, puisqu'il faut dire qu'au niveau du mémorandum d'Abidjan, il y avait déjà des défis auxquels, en son temps, ils étaient confrontés. Et ce mémorandum-là a pris acte de ces problèmes-là au moment donné. Aujourd'hui, nous sommes avec d'autres défis, comme je le dis. Donc, il faut le réactualiser. C'est de pouvoir essayer d'apporter, bien soumettre cela, si possible, aux différentes ONG pour qu'elles puissent apporter ce qu'il faut pouvoir réactualiser. Je pense qu'aujourd'hui, la place de la société civile, elle est plus que nécessaire au sein de ce mémorandum-là. Parce que, comme je le dis, aujourd'hui, ce sont ces ONG-là qui sont, comme on le dit en anglais, sur le terrain et donc qui ont des données vraiment, des vraies données qui peuvent mieux orienter l'effort de conservation des tortues marines. Et donc, il est vraiment important, sinon je dirais urgent, que la société civile prenne sa place pour réactualiser au sein du mémorandum d'Abidjan.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Marcel Collet, je suis le directeur et chef de site du parc marin de Mangrove, qui qui est un parc qui se trouve au littoral de la République démocratique du Congo. Et nous avons un programme de préservation et de conservation des tortues marines tout le long du littoral de ce pays, qui est mis en œuvre par une ONG qui s'appelle Congo Bassin Biodiversity Conservation, ou Conservation de la biodiversité du bassin du Congo, en sigle CBBC.
Je m'appelle David Angenda, je suis responsable du suivi des tortues marines du littoral congolais. Nous mettons en œuvre l'activité de protection de tortues marines sur le littoral congolais avec l'ONG CBBC.
Je résumerai la première menace par la disparition des plages. Cette disparition est due à plusieurs raisons. La première raison est une raison internationale. C'est la montée des eaux qui est visible ici au parc marin des Mangroves, c'est-à-dire au littoral de la RDC, comme elle est visible dans le monde entier. Il y a une montée des eaux réelle. En 10 ans, nous avons vu un changement énorme sur les plages de la côte. Nous avons perdu plus de 5 km de plage sur 40 km. Ensuite, la deuxième cause de disparition des plages, c'est l'urbanisation anarchique de ces plages. En effet, la plage de la côte du littoral congolais est malheureusement spoliée pour être urbanisée et de plus en plus de particuliers achètent des terrains sur la plage pour y construire leurs bâtiments.
Dans chaque saison, nous essayons d'organiser des équipes. On recrute les éco-gardes qui vont patrouiller 4 plages, parce que nous avons 4 plages qui sont réparties en 12 secteurs. Ils seront déployés pour faire des patrouilles nocturnes qui commencent de 18h jusqu'à 5h du matin. Alors nous avons 12 secteurs et aujourd'hui, dans les 4 plages, nous comptons 3 plages qui sont des plages majeures, qui ont une grande production, et les 45 éco-gardes qui sont engagés, et la majorité, au moins 80%, proviennent de la population locale. C'est une façon de faire participer la population locale à ce qui concerne l'activité de protection des tortues marines en République démocratique du Congo. Et après ces patrouilles, nous ramenons tous les ici à l'écloserie centrale, où nous faisons un suivi en permanence pour aboutir à un bon résultat, parce que nous sommes arrivés à peu près à 85% des réussites, des émergences. C'est le travail que nous avons effectué en équipe, et tout ça, c'est le fruit de nos efforts jusque-là, depuis qu'on a commencé cette activité de protection des tortues marines.
Au niveau des conventions qui ont été ratifiées par la République démocratique du Congo, nous pensons au mémorandum d'Abidjan, qui est un accord plutôt régional africain, où la République démocratique du Congo s'est engagée à protéger non seulement les tortues marines, mais leurs lieux de ponte, qui sont les plages. Effectivement, on ne peut pas protéger les tortues marines, sinon on ne protège pas les plages. Et donc pour cette raison, le pays, le gouvernement a pris la sage décision en 1992 de mettre toutes les plages, de placer toutes les plages de la République démocratique du Congo dans le parc marin des Mangroves. Donc elles font partie intégrante du parc marin des Mangroves. Donc nous attendons évidemment de toutes ces conventions, comme par exemple la Convention sur les espèces migratrices, la CMS. Nous attendons d'elle un appui, et effectivement elle nous appuie parce que c'est une force qui vient en appui des forces régaliennes du pays lui-même. Donc ce sont des conventions qui appuient les lois du pays en matière de conservation des animaux protégés.
Bonjour, je suis Sabrina de l'ONG Ibonga à Gomba au Gabon. Alors notre principale préoccupation que nous rencontrons sur le terrain est le braconnage des nids de tortues marines par les pêcheurs, mais aussi par les populations riveraines. À cela s'ajoute la pollution plastique, qui est vraiment très évidente et qui constitue un risque pour la montée des tortues marines lors de leur ponte. Ce que nous attendons du mémorandum d'Abidjan est un lobbying auprès de nos gouvernements pour une meilleure application de la loi. Une loi qui est plus efficace pour la protection de nos tortues marines, non seulement au Gabon, mais aussi dans la sous-région. Merci.
Je suis Dr Isidore Haïssi, biologiste marin, président national de l'association congolaise de biologie marine ACDM, et en même temps vice-président du Rastoma, le réseau des acteurs de la sauvegarde des tortues marines en puissance. Il faut dire que nous travaillons sur les tortues marines à peu près environ une vingtaine d'années. Ce processus est assez jeune. Et ce que nous faisons, c'est le suivi des plages et pour observer les évidences, les montées et bien évidemment aussi mettre en place des écloseries pour protéger les nids. Par ailleurs, nous avons des actions de sensibilisation, d'éducation environnementale avec les populations riveraines pour les amener à comprendre qu'une tortue vivante vaut 1000 fois qu'une tortue morte. Celle-ci à travers les activités d'écotourisme, ici dans le logement chez l'habitant avec notre partenaire. Nous avons aussi des activités de développement des AGR, c'est-à-dire des activités génératrices de revenus. Et dans ces activités, c'est la promotion des fumoirs améliorés pour protéger les habitats de tortues marines, qui sont les plages et les arrière-plages qui sont bordées par les mangroves. L'autre chose aussi que nous faisons l'élevage des escargots pour essayer d'apporter un peu de soutien aux femmes qui sont généralement les couches les plus défavorisées lorsque la pêche est prévue. Et alors, par rapport à cet ensemble, nous pensons que pour arriver à des lendemains meilleurs, il faudrait une dynamique régionale qui implique non seulement les acteurs locaux, mais aussi les acteurs de la sous-région, à savoir tous les pays qui bordent le Cameroun, parce que notre niche écologique, c'est le Cameroun. Et voilà pourquoi nous avons adhéré au Rastoma, qui est une fêtière des structures régionales des tortues marines. Et nous pensons que par rapport au mémorandum d'Abidjan, il est question de mobiliser les acteurs étatiques, les services techniques et d'autres partenaires pour qu'on puisse aller ensemble de manière synergique pour aboutir à la conservation des tortues marines et leurs habitats, peut-être à travers les aires marines protégées et beaucoup plus les aires marines protégées communautaires, où les populations locales auront un point de vue et un point d'ancrage pour pouvoir donner des orientations et à donner des suggestions. Voilà pourquoi l'initiative que nous menons à la périphérie de l'île de Casamance, dans la zone entre Londji et l'Ambossie Nord, nous voulons mettre en place une aire marine protégée communautaire. Et voilà nos grands objectifs au niveau de ACDEM. Merci.
I'm John Flynn, the founder and conservation director of Wild Seas, a CSO working primarily in Ghana to protect sea turtles and the marine environment. We're delighted at the opportunity to present here today at the 2021 World Conservation Congress the nature of our work, along with that of many other CSOs throughout the Gulf of Guinea region and sub-Saharan Africa. As members of the West African Sea Turtle Conservation Network, or WASCON for short, our work allows us to contribute to a joined-up conservation effort throughout the Gulf of Guinea. Partners in the network are able to share experiences, best practice, and work together to create a better and more productive conservation environment in the region. I am now going to hand you over to Erosion, who is the country head for Wild Seas in Ghana, who's going to give you an idea of life on the ground, the challenges and the solutions that we have come up with.
My name is Erosion. I'm the country head of Wild Seas in Ghana. I've been chosen of the top 100 Africa Youth Competition leaders. Since 2012, we have overachieved 2,000 sea turtles protected, returning back to the ocean. I and my team, we both do night patrolling and bycatch by the fishermen. We try to protect sea turtles, and also we educate fishermen about sea turtles, educate fishmongers and children the importance of sea turtles. We also try to protect turtles all over the West Africa. My biggest achievement or my dream to make sure that West Africa collaborates with my organization to make sure that we could do a very good collaboration in all the African continent. Thank you for everyone supporting us and listening on and spending your time with me.
Ok. Bon, merci beaucoup pour votre attention. Alors là, en fait, so thank you very much for your attention. The French come, sorry. And yeah, so this is our reality in Central and West Africa. So I think it's important to start from here, because so now we will talk about the network initiatives, the network in Central Africa and the network in West Africa, so Rastoma and WATSCON. But I think the basis is really this, the people working in the field. You saw, I think you realize there is diversity, the motivation, the origins of the people working, the way they approach conservation. There is a big diversity. But the common point, they all spend all their energy, they spend their life protecting sea turtles and coastal habitat. So they need to be listened and they need to be supported. That's why we are here. So now I propose you to present the Rastoma Networks. So we will present the two networks and then we will give the speech to the CMS, Melanie Virtue, which is from the Secretariat of the Convention of Migratory Species. So about Rastoma, so just to put because we saw people, but we are working on turtles, so those people work on 5 species of turtles. So in Africa, we have 5 species of turtles, the leatherback turtles, the olive ridley turtles, the loggerhead turtle, hawksbill turtle, and green turtles. And those turtles, they feed along the coastline and they nest on the nesting beach. So I put you the map. I won't detail, we don't have the time to detail, but you can go to some really good publication we made with Rodmas for in 2010. And this map is interesting because the sea turtle we are working with in Africa, they don't stay in one place. They use big area of living, and we call it regional management unit. And so the scale we work with is the ocean basin. It's not one country, it's not one region. Most of the time it's half of one ocean basin. So that's why it's important to work together, not only in one country, in one place. We need to work in the sub-region, the region, but we need to work with overseas countries too. So maybe Isidore, you can explain the threats we face in Africa?
Thank you. The first threat of sea turtles in Central Africa, it is the bushmeat trade. You know that in this area you have Bantu people who as commonly eat meat. Then there are sea turtles on the field, they are collected. Another thing is the collecting of eggs. Collecting our eggs, we can be involved in bushmeat. Also, you have bycatch. Bycatch from artisanal fishing or industrial fishing. Another thing you have in Central Africa is the destruction of habitat from erosion, littoral erosion. You see now one of our colleagues from RDC, that is the main threat in RDC. He told us in 40 kilometers, they have reduction of 5 kilometers during few years. Another thing you have in Central Africa is the pollution. Then you have solid pollution from plastic. Another pollution is oil pollution. Actually, in Central Africa, you have the boom of oil exploitation from Nigeria to Guinea Equatorial and Gabon, so on, Cameroon. Another thing you can add of this threat is the climate change. That is a global threat. But this threat have certain consequences in our coastal area. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Isidore. So about the network. So the Rastoma Network was created in 2012, and now we are gathering 11 NGOs from 6 countries of Central Africa. So most of the NGOs working in the field on sea turtle in Central Africa are members of Rastoma. So Rastoma is also it's a strong governance, meaning the decisions that are made in the network, they are not done by one guy. It's a result of debates and voting. And so we have a board and we have General Assembly, and all the decisions we take them with all the members of the network. And during the General Assembly, we debate about the strategy, and the strategy we built is based on the needs of the field actors. And so, thanks to this approach, so we really built something made for the field actors. We have a big development. For example, this is in 2015 in Pointe Noire, and this is 2016 in Sao Tome. This is 2017 in Kribi, Cameroon, and this is 2020 during the COVID crisis. This is in Togo, Lomé. So you can see at the beginning we are something like 15, 20, and now we are something like 70. So we grow fast, and it's because the people working with us, the members of Rastoma, the people, the actors from the field, they feel confident with what we are doing. And now, so Rastoma is Central Africa. So I will give the talk to Josea later, and Rastoma, thanks to its success, it attracts some other leaders, some other actors from outside Central Africa. But Rastoma decided not to expand. So we prefer, instead of expanding the network, we decided to support a brother network. And this is why we decided to support WhatsCon. WhatsCon is a new network. Josea will present the WhatsCon network. And we give support to them, meaning we help them, we go for meeting with them, we help them to find money for their actions. And the idea, the vision is to have a brother network able to be mobilized with us. Meaning we have the same culture, we have the same histories, we have the same approaches. So in our sub-region, we work independently, but sometimes if a given threat, a given issue, conservation issue needs to be addressed at the regional scale, we are able to mobilize the two networks at the same time. And this vision goes further than Atlantic Africa, since we have Ahmed here, and Ahmed Zouki is from Tunisia, and is part of a new network called NASNet. And so we are supporting a new network in North Africa too. And so at the end, the idea for the moment, we have Rastoma here, we have WhatsCon here, and we have NASNet here, and we are missing something here. But at the end, the vision is to have human scale networks working together, brother networks, able to mobilize themselves when the conservation issues require something regional or Pan-African. Okay, so the final goal is to unify the conservation effort for the protection of sea turtles in Africa countries bordering on the Atlantic. So I go fast because I cannot detail everything. But another thing I want to talk about, we say we protect sea turtles, but it's not only about sea turtles. And I think in the testimony from the field, you figure out this. The field actors, they face issues related to fisheries, to coastal use, to coastal erosion, to climate change. So sea turtles is the way we go in the subject, but the subject covered by the actors in the field is far bigger. For this civil society, they are actors, you can rely on them for many conservation issues, and they are in place, they are efficient, and now with the network we build their capacities. So I think it's really a powerful networks of actors you can rely on to address many of the coastal issues, conservation issues. And another issues we have in common, and it's not only for turtle, it's plastic pollution, for example. And now we are mobilizing the two networks, WhatsCon and Rastoma, about this subject, but we will go together, I'm sure, with NASNet too. So we will address the plastic too. So, yes. Thank you very much for your attention, and I will give the talk to Josea. He will present the new WATSCON network covering 6 countries from Nigeria to Liberia. Josea?
Bonjour à tous. Mon nom c'est Josea Dosobodirenou. Je suis de l'ONG Nature Tropicale du Bénin. Pour la petite histoire, comme vous savez, les tortues sont des espèces migratrices. Il y a eu différentes initiatives. L'initiative de la mise en place de WATSCOM, ça a commencé très longtemps. C'était déjà dans les années 2000, grâce à l'appui du comité néerlandais de l'IUCN. En ce temps, nous avons eu un projet qui parlait de la protection transfrontière, Sea Total Conservation et cross-frontière. Et c'était pour aller voir les expériences en Amérique. Et nous avons vu ce qui se fait jusqu'à Océanal. Et suite à cela, nous avons pu réunir en 2000 des acteurs de la conservation des tortues marines depuis le Nigeria jusqu'au Sénégal pour voir comment mettre en place un dispositif pour la protection des tortues marines. Ça a été un réseau informel. Nous avons commencé par travailler, mais n'ayant pas de grands moyens, nous avons seulement communiqué, partagé nos expériences. Chaque pays, ce que nous faisons, on essaie de partager. Il n'y avait rien de commun en réalité. Mais l'initiative est venue du fait qu'il y a le mémorandum d'accord, comme tous les acteurs l'ont présenté tout à l'heure. Le mémorandum d'accord sur les mesures de conservation des tortues marines a été signé en 1999. Et dans ce mémorandum, tous les acteurs sont pris en compte. Mais prioritairement, c'est souvent les gouvernants. Mais quand vous venez dans nos pays, il n'y a pas grand-chose sur le terrain. Maintenant, les acteurs de la société civile veulent montrer ce qu'ils sont en train de faire et voir comment faire la synergie. C'est comme ça que nous avons pensé au réseau WATSCOM. Et malheureusement, pendant pratiquement 18 ans, ça n'a pas beaucoup fonctionné parce que c'est informel. Mais grâce à l'appui de PPI, en 2018, il y a eu un premier atelier pour permettre aux acteurs de se mettre ensemble, de réfléchir sur la vision, les actions à la raison d'être et autres. Et ensuite, en 2019, on devait faire l'Assemblée générale. À cause de Covid, ça n'a pas eu lieu. Mais en 2020, en décembre 2020, et avec l'appui de Rastoma, qui a déjà l'expérience avec PPI à travailler pour la conservation des tortues marines en Afrique de l'Ouest, nous avons eu les moyens maintenant pour organiser l'atelier. Et c'était du 9 au 12 novembre au Togo, où le réseau a été formellement mis en place. Et c'est un réseau qui réunit les acteurs. Ça ne bouge pas? C'est un réseau qui réunit les acteurs du Nigeria jusqu'au Libéria. Et comme il le disait tout à l'heure, c'est qu'il y a une... Ça peut bouger? OK. C'est entre le Libéria et le Nigeria. C'est ces pays qui sont pris en compte parce que quand nous avons commencé en 2000, déjà en 2002, 2003, il y a un réseau qu'ils ont appelé Tomao, mais c'est limité seulement à l'accord de pêche. C'est-à-dire c'est entre le Sénégal et la Sierra Leone, en prenant en compte la Gambie, la Guinée-Bissau et autres, toujours pour travailler sur les tortues marines. Mais nous pouvons dire qu'il n'y a pas assez de visibilité parce qu'on n'a pas assez d'informations sur ce qui se fait. Et là, comme il a indiqué tout à l'heure, le gap se retrouvait là, parce qu'on ne communique pas trop entre nous. Mais travaillant sur les espèces migratrices, je crois que c'était important qu'on travaille ensemble. Et Rastoma ayant déjà assez d'expérience, et nous avons vu qu'on peut travailler ensemble. Et c'est ce qui a permis qu'on lance le réseau au niveau Afrique de l'Ouest. OK? Là, c'est les ONG membres au niveau de chaque pays. Prioritairement, on a cherché des ONG qui sont vraiment actives sur le terrain. Mais ce n'est pas fermé. Mais pour un début, des ONG qui travaillent déjà sur les tortues marines sur le littoral. On peut bouger? OK? Voilà, comme il a dit tout à l'heure, je ne vais pas beaucoup répéter. Et au niveau de la motivation, c'est lutter contre l'isolement, c'est dire voir comment travailler ensemble avec les différentes ONG, proposer ensemble des solutions. Parce que on ne peut pas avoir des solutions qui soient la même pour toutes. Mais il y a des solutions qui marchent en fonction des problèmes qui se posent, voir comment partager les expériences et voir un peu comment on peut les adapter au niveau local. Aussi, comme nous travaillons au niveau local, ça doit s'intégrer dans un programme global. Parce que les tortues marines n'appartiennent pas seulement à l'Afrique. Et souvent, on doit faire des rapports au niveau international. Ça veut dire que nous devons avoir une cohérence au niveau des méthodologies que nous mettons en place pour pouvoir développer nos actions sur le terrain. OK? Là, c'est quelques images qui montrent déjà les activités que développent les acteurs sur le terrain, renforcer les capacités des acteurs, des ONG, contribuer à l'application des tests. Dans nos pays, il y a des tests et la CMS, c'est sur cette base. C'est-à-dire appliquer même la CMS au niveau local. Et quelquefois, il y a des problèmes parce que quand des acteurs de terrain produisent les informations, il n'y a pas une bonne collaboration avec le gouvernant, alors que c'est les points focaux qui doivent rendre compte. C'est quand même un peu difficile. On a vu qu'il faut aider à cette synergie, mais surtout, il faut vraiment que les tests soient appliqués. Et les ONG contribuent à cela. Et animer un plaidoyer au niveau des différentes institutions, surtout, sans les moyens, on ne peut pas faire grand-chose. Si on continue à parler de bycatch, aujourd'hui, les pêcheurs disent « Nous sommes conscients qu'il faut protéger les tortues. » Mais quand la tortue déchire son filet, il n'a que ça pour vivre et vous venez pour le sensibiliser. Il vous écoute le jour, mais la nuit, il n'hésite pas à blesser la tortue et vous dit « Je n'ai pas touché à votre tortue. » Mais vous n'êtes pas là comme témoin. Ça veut dire qu'il y a des problèmes réels qui sont connus, mais on ne met pas les moyens pour les régler. Et là, on va toujours faire des rapports pour dire qu'on conserve les tortues. En réalité, sur le terrain, il y a beaucoup de problèmes. Et soutenir un réseau d'observatoires régional au niveau des tortues, je crois qu'il y a plusieurs initiatives. Maintenant, c'est comment les mettre ensemble. On peut aller vite pour finir. OK. Les premières réalisations, le plan stratégique, nous avons travaillé avec Rastoma, surtout au niveau de l'Assemblée générale, pour quand même avoir une vision claire, une raison d'être, pour des actions à mener ensemble, et aussi comment on peut mener des actions de plaidoyer politique, la communication au niveau de nos États, faire les recherches de financement. Ça, c'est très important. Si on vous dit on a fait 18 ans sans rien faire ensemble, c'est parce qu'il n'y avait pas les moyens. Et maintenant, avec ce que nous avons aujourd'hui, il est possible d'aller plus loin. OK? OK. Mobilisation des ressources, améliorer la visibilité au niveau de ce que nous faisons et concevoir surtout des protocoles communs. Parce qu'il y a plusieurs réseaux au niveau international qui existent. SWOT, par exemple, doit produire des résultats tous les ans sur ce qui se fait. Ça veut dire qu'il faut un standard. Et nous sommes prêts à travailler ensemble pour que nos résultats de terrain puissent contribuer à la conservation au niveau international. OK? Pour finir? Voilà. Merci pour votre attention.
Merci, Josea. Thank you, Josea. So now we will give the speech to Melanie Virtue from the Convention on Migratory Species. And so she is not on site. She will intervene from remotely. So I think we need to be connected with her. Do you manage to have her? Okay. You don't have the sound? Do you have the video? Comment? You need to authorize what? Sorry for this. Ça marche? Okay. Melanie, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, cool. Welcome.
I can't start my video.
Okay.
You have to do it at your end.
Okay, so maybe you want us to start your slideshow from here?
Well, I don't think you have it. I'd be happy to share it, but I just need you to start my video.
You don't manage to start it?
No, it says the host needs to do it.
Ah, the host needs to do it. Okay, we are trying
The
to
host
fix
has
that.
stopped my video, it says.
Ah, okay. So we will find it. Yeah, I don't know what's happening.
Sorry about that.
No, you're not. We will manage. You refused. You have to accept the video.
I've tried several times to start it.
Yes, that's strange. Maybe we should disconnect and reconnect. What about? What's the problem?
Certainly, I can leave and rejoin.
Sorry?
I can leave the meeting and rejoin if you like.
I'm checking with the technical staff now. I don't know. Is it a good idea to disconnect and reconnect or what? Okay, sorry for this. We have technical problems. Okay. Et nous on lance le slideshow. Okay, Melanie, we can try. Are you here?
Yes.
Okay, so if you agree, we can try something. We start the slideshow. You tell us to go as the next slide, and you talk because we don't know how to put your video on.
Okay, that's fine. If you can do it from that end, I know you only have a PDF, but if that works, that's good.
Yeah, we will try this way because I don't know how to do it. Comment? Oui. Okay. Sorry for this. We have technical problems. Let's go. So I have your presentation here. Okay, so I'm on slide 1, Melanie. Sorry for this.
Yes.
So you
Okay, I see you there.
Okay.
Good.
What's happening? Oh, what is this? Wow. Nice. Annulé. Okay. Okay, you can go. Sorry. So Melanie, it's you can start. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Alexandra.
And did you follow the presentation and the video?
Yes, okay. I can see. So I'd just like to introduce myself to you all. I'm Melanie Virtue from the Convention on Migratory Species based in Bonn in Germany, and I'm very pleased to be here, and I was absolutely delighted to see all the video presentations from the field from so many NGOs working so hard. And I was also actually impressed at how much mention of the Abidjan MOU you made. I know we haven't been very active in the region, and it's a testament to all your dedication, in fact, that you are talking about it. And anyway, now I'm delighted to be here and tell you a little bit more about where we stand. So next slide, please. So just to back up a little bit about CMS, a global convention, we have 2 appendices. All of the marine turtle species are on both appendices. On Appendix 1, because they are endangered, and in that one, the countries have agreed to no taking of the animals, and that includes the eggs as well as adults, to conserve the habitats and to remove obstacles to migration and to minimize other threats. And also on Appendix 2, which is a slightly longer, more complicated one, but basically says that the species would benefit from international cooperation achieved through an international agreement. And we already have that agreement, the Abidjan MOU. Next slide, please. So a little bit more about how CMS works. We have the Global Convention, and as well as that, we have about 26 different regional instruments. We have 7 legally binding agreements, and some of you may be familiar with AWA, the African Eurasian Waterbird Agreement, or perhaps the Gorilla Agreement in Central Africa. The other ones are more in other regions of the world. And then we have 19 MOUs being distinguished by being legally non-binding, but often just as effective in the way they operate. And so I've put a circle there around the Atlantic Turtles MOU, but you can see we have so many more. And, you know, I'm one person in CMS, and I'm responsible for all of the aquatic and marine MOUs and other work. So we're spread extremely thin here in CMS, but we do our best. And just to point out, next to the Atlantic Turtle MOU is IUCN, that's the Indian Ocean and Southeast Asian Marine Turtle MOU. They're kind of siblings of each other, just in different ocean basins. And I'll talk a bit about that as well. Next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, and then on to the Memorandum of Understanding concerning the conservation measures for marine turtles on the Atlantic coast of Africa, otherwise known as the Abidjan MOU. It was agreed in 1999. It's one of our oldest MOUs, and we have all of the signatories of the Atlantic coast of Africa, if you see on the map there, with the exception of Western Sahara, which is politically a sensitive area. All of the countries have joined. The only 2, if you see the turtles at the bottom, we're missing 2 turtles. That's Spain and Portugal on behalf of the Canaries and the Azores and Madeira Islands. But we have full coverage on the Atlantic coast of Africa, which is actually quite important and quite special, actually. So next slide, please. And the MOU covers all the species. I mean, there are 6 species of marine turtles. I think the Kemps is probably not found there except as the vagrant, but certainly all those species are covered by CMS and by the MOU. Next slide. So as some of you will know, because I suspect some of you have been around a long time working on turtle conservation, and we've held 2 meetings in the region. The second meeting was in 2008, where we updated the conservation and management plan for marine turtles, for the MOU. Its objectives, it covers 6 objectives, which are the same as for the MOU, dealing with threats, with habitats, with increasing knowledge, increasing public awareness, international cooperation and regional cooperation, and promoting the MOU. And I think someone who was it Alexander Dar from Ivory Coast said that, he thought the action plan needed updating, and that may well be the case, but nevertheless, it's based on very sound principles, and I think the action plan can still be applied in many cases. So next slide, please. And so just stepping back a little bit, from my point of view, where I've got to run so many different instruments, and we get no money from our parties to run these different instruments. And so some of them are successful because signatories actually run them themselves. Sometimes, like in South America, we have 2 countries, Argentina, and Uruguay, and they run an MOU between them. Or there's significant funding available. For example, the United States is in some MOUs, and particularly in the Indian Ocean Turtle MOU. So they provide funding for it. The EU is in some of our MOUs. They provide funding. then we can have some staffing and have a little bit of activity going on, have regular meetings, but that's not always the case. And then the third thing that makes them successful, and I would say between 2 and 3, you could say or, is very strong engagement from the stakeholders in the region. And in this case, it can be NGOs and these networks of NGOs, Rastoma and Wascom are like perfect networks to help implement the MOU. And it's very exciting to me, that these have arisen, and these are just the type of organizations that, we can then work with, and you can, and the countries can work with to help to implement the MOU. So next slide, please. So I just want to talk a little bit now about the sister MOU, IUCN. So that's the Indian Ocean. You can see there the map. So it's the east coast of Africa, all the way around Asia down to Australia. So it's a huge area. I don't know if you'll notice, but if you look at their conservation and management plan, they have exactly the same objectives as you do in Abidjan. But they have now had 8 meetings of signatories. So the signatories have had a bit more time to come and update the action plan, to develop, more sound program of work, to set up and maintain an advisory committee that helps the countries. So and I said it, the United States is a signatory to this MOU, and as is Australia. So we've got a couple of countries that put a little bit of money, and just enough money on the table to have a staff member to keep the MOU running, basically. But that's something we don't have for the Abidjan MOU. Next slide. And just a little bit more about IUCN. So you can see they've even divided themselves into sub-regions because it's so huge. There are task forces for each region, which try to meet at least virtually. And as I said, there's an advisory committee, which is really quite active to provide advice. And they've also developed a marine turtle site network to kind of identify the key sites that need protection and what kind of protection they need. Next slide. Sorry, that's just some photos from their activities. Next slide. And so you can see here, so Abidjan MOU was signed in 1999. The Indian Ocean one was signed only in 2001, so it's younger, but it's just celebrated its 20 years with a series of regional and global events. And next slide. So jumping out a little bit again, I'd just like to talk about the role of NGOs from a CMS perspective. We're very, it's absolutely vital for us to have NGOs participating, whether it's at the global level, coming to our convention bodies, to our Conference of the Parties, to our Scientific Council, or to participate in our MOUs and their task forces and working groups. Our MOUs are never successful without the very active engagement of NGOs. Next slide, please. And so now I was interested when Alexander showed a map of the 2 networks you have and the third one that you're proposing. And I see that the bulge of West Africa is still not covered, but CMS is taking part in a project which is funded by the Marva Foundation. The project's run by BirdLife, and you can see at the bottom all the list of partners. And this is a project to minimize bycatch of seabirds and turtles in these 7 countries of West Africa in their industrial fisheries. And so it's a project that's been running a couple of years. The funding is finite, although I know BirdLife hopes to try and continue the activities afterwards, but it is certainly, another 7 countries that have at least some work going on certainly with turtles. So move on to the next slide, please. And so there's just the various different strategies. There's research. I think in the original, this was an animation showing you how the fishing effort changes through the years, but let's move on to the next slide. So there's a lot of observer training being undertaken, even last year and this year, building capacity of observers to collect data about seabirds and turtles. There's already been some trainer-to-trainer workshops, and observers get given ID guides for all the species in the region, not only seabirds and turtles, but also sharks and cetaceans. And there's also capacity building for government officials, decision makers, and training in the ecosystem approach to fisheries. And as well as that, we have funding some PhDs and master's students who are already getting interesting results. Okay, next slide. And then we're working with governments who, when they're renewing their sustainable fisheries partnership agreements with the European fleets, to ensure that bycatch is included in these discussions, and to develop a bycatch mitigation roadmap for the region. And also senior fisheries managers are trained in negotiating skills to undertake these negotiations with the EU. And next slide. And finally, a lot of communications products are developed. And I would just like to say, I think my colleague, Dr. Rima Jabado, who works on this project for us and does the training, is maybe in the room with you there, and
yes,
potentially even
I see her in the back of the room.
Ahmed.
Yes, she's here and she will take part to the debate, I think.
Excellent. Okay, that's good. We'll hear from Rima in a moment. Okay, next slides for them. I mean, this is just my last slide here. Just sort of thinking. I mean, CMS doesn't have any sort of magic answers. We don't have funds to just give you. Otherwise, we would have already. You know, it's really my kind of guilty conscience that I'm responsible for the Atlantic Turtles MOU. You know, I know that it was quite active back in the early 2000s, but since then we've had just no funding to do anything. And I think, you know, now having these two networks to work with would be at least, it's at least something. But you know, the point of the MOU is that the governments have signed the MOU, they've made a commitment to turtle conservation and to that action plan. So anytime you end up talking to government officials, you can tell them this is what you've already agreed to. So, you know, we have that framework, and then we have these great networks of enthusiastic people coordinated into these two networks. And yeah, so we just have to kind of find a way to move forward without it costing too much money, because there isn't funding from our side. But maybe funding can be found. Maybe at some point we can have a meeting either in person or virtually where we update the MOU. But I mean, really the work is being done by the people we've been hearing from earlier today, who are doing spectacular work on the ground, you know, working with communities, and I applaud them. So Alexandra, I'll leave it there and I remain open for questions.
Oh, thank you very much, Melanie, for this presentation. So I think it's a good transition to go to the debate, and it's now, at the beginning I thought about a panel, but I think we can discuss. We are not so many in the room, so maybe you can come a little bit closer. Dr. Jabado, is that it? Okay. So Dr. Jabado is working closely with you, Melanie, is that it?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah.
She's our project officer in this seabird and bycatch project.
So we have a little bit more time because the next event is cancelled, so we can expand a little bit the time, but we won't do it too much. Okay, what we can do now, so I will do a quick roundtable with the people around to know who is participating in the debate. So I will give the mic to Cyril Barnerias.
Yes, hello, I'm so in charge. I'm working for the French Biodiversity Agency, agence française, office français pour la biodiversité. Et je m'occupe de la direction Europe et internationale à l'OFB.
Okay. In English? No. Okay. For Melanie, are you... okay. Do you understand the French or do you need it in English?
I understand some.
Okay, so we go on like this. Okay.
Yes.
Romain?
Donc en français. Romain Calac, consultant indépendant travaillant principalement avec l'Union européenne en Afrique centrale et en Afrique de l'Ouest.
Merci. I am Roderick Mast. I'm the co-chair of the IUCN Marine Turtle Specialist Group, and I work for a nonprofit called Oceanic Society in the United States, and I oversee, along with a number of other colleagues, a global network called the State of the World's Sea Turtles Network.
Thank you. Aurélien?
Aurélien Garot, je travaille pour le PPI en appui des organisations de la société civile en Afrique, et moi je suis basé en Afrique de l'Ouest.
Okay. I don't know if you want to participate.
Magali Posin, je travaille pour le comité français de l'IUCN au sein du programme Coopération internationale.
Okay.
Bonjour, Abdoulaye Samba, je suis coordinateur technique de la FENAGI Pêche au Sénégal. Je travaille spécifiquement dans la pêche artisanale. Merci.
Ahmed?
Ahmed Souki, je suis un membre fondateur et le président actuel de l'association Notre Grand Bleu, une association qui travaille à Monastir sur les îles Curiates, le seul site stable d'identification de tortues marines. On est comme une nouvelle expérience co-gestionnaire avec l'APAL, l'Agence nationale de protection des littorales, pour la protection et le suivi monitoring des tortues marines. Et je suis membre du réseau NASNET, c'est un réseau maghrébin qui rassemble l'Égypte, Libye, Tunisie, l'Algérie et Maroc pour la protection et le suivi des tortues marines.
Peut-être Albert. Sorry, Ahmed. Albert.
Hello, I am Albert. I am from Proyecto Biodiversidad, an NGO based in Cape Verde where we do sea turtle conservation.
Dr. Jabado, pardon.
Hi everyone, I'm Rima Jabado and I am working as a consultant on a project looking at reducing bycatch of sea turtles and seabirds in West African industrial fisheries. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Marie. I'm working with the French National Center for Scientific Research with seabirds, so I'm just interested in learning about what's going on with other marine species on important areas.
Alors, Roméo Fopa, représentant de l'Alliance, assistant technique pour le compte de l'Alliance pour la conservation des grands singes en Afrique centrale. C'est un réseau frais, n'est-ce pas, du Rastoma.
Mais dans une autre espèce.
Dans une autre espèce.
Bon, merci beaucoup. Donc, je pense, alors voilà, l'objectif là du débat, the objective of the debate for me is to build something concrete, something practical. What should we do together with the convention? Together, the civil society organized as network with the Migratory Species Convention. What is the best approach to work together? What are the next steps? And I would like to draft an agenda. We won't make the plan now, but just some good ideas to start working together. So, who wants to take the mic? Cyril?
Yes, if it's possible, because also I will have to leave after, so that's why.
Okay, thank you. Sorry for that.
No, that's okay. I mean, from what I understood, first thing, it's great to have an MOU, as Melanie said. From a donors, I mean, I was working with the funders previously, so I think it might be difficult to find fundings for supporting a network in the long run. So maybe one approach could be to have a project-based approach. So like trying to get funding for projects that would not only support the network, for example, but also support concrete on the ground. I mean, implementations like creating MPAs, for example, or or supporting local communities to improve their livelihoods using sustainable ways. And then taking a little bit of that chunk of money to support the network for, I don't know, 5 years or maybe more if it's possible. But yeah, I think it might be difficult because supporting the network and only that would not represent a lot of money. And then for donors, it might be difficult to mobilize. I don't know, it would be a few thousands of euros or dollars. So I would tend to orient it more with sub-regional projects, for example, that would support local implementation and also the life of the network. But that's really my point of view. I don't know how you see that from your point of view.
Cyril, how do you see the shame, the global shame? What is the interaction between the funders, the convention, and the civil society networks? How do we organize the things, and how do we go forward?
Okay, I would think that the MOU would be first a justification, because you always have to refer to either regional, international conventions or regional strategies, national strategies. So having an MOU on which you can rely is quite useful, because you can say, okay, it's in the MOU, so we're going to do what's in here, what's there, etc. So that's the first step. Maybe in the project you can have some items to facilitate the participation of NGOs to some MOUs meetings, for example. That's the 2 points I would say to link the MOU with NGOs in the project.
Okay, thank you. Other comments? Someone who want to add something to complement?
And
thank you, Cyril. Thank you, Cyril, for your participation, and see you later. Rod Mast.
Hi, thank you. CMS has had a very effective program in the Indian Ocean for, 20 years, the IOC. I don't know how well it's funded, but I know it's funded well enough to have full-time staff for some time. Also, the Inter-American Convention in the Americas has funded staff. Maybe it would be helpful to just look at those examples that have been effective. Because we've known about, those of us in the turtle community have known about this MOU for West Africa. I've been hearing about this forever, it feels like. So what is it that made the Indian Ocean one work? And perhaps the American one work also, but it's not working in terms of generating funding and broader scale support for the activities in West Africa.
Okay, thank you, Rod. I think the difference is about the funding opportunities linked to the fact that US and Australia and other countries are also investing a lot in this Indian Ocean part. And in Africa, the government, they don't invest in the conservation. I think it's the main difference. Maybe, Romain, you have any idea about this? You want to contribute?
No, I think you just said it. I mean, if you don't have rich countries member of a partnership, then if you have only quite poor countries on the one hand, and on the other hand, government which are not that interested in conservation, then you can't rely on your own funding, your own budget. Then you have to find your money elsewhere, especially in the donor community. And then the question becomes, do you have, what will you propose to these donors? If it's as it had been said, if it's just the running cost and of a network, it won't be enough. It won't be enough attractive, and sexy, to be honest. And so you have to propose something much more concrete in terms of impact, or at least results on the ground, and then the next question is a network, such a network, regional network, a real added value or asset in order to get better field results? I mean, is it a way for a donor to improve its efficiency?
Yeah,
and if so, then I think donor may be interested in.
I have a concrete example about that. For example, about the data mobilization about sea turtles, for example. Since before the network activities, and Rod can testimony on this, there were no data about Central Africa and West Africa coming up to the international MTSG, Marine Turtle Specialist Group, and other SWOT initiative. And since the networks are active, you have data coming up and you have a good ideas and good information, updated information about the status of sea turtles. So it's already a big difference. But I think we need to communicate more about this maybe. But it's obvious there is a difference. And it's money well spent. When you invest in a network, it's cheap. It's weird because finally we say it's not expensive enough.
No, but you're right. You're right.
But it's efficient.
I mean, from a donor point of view, the funding is not continuous. You know, it's not you can have a grant of 50,000 and then 100 and 100 and 200 and 500. No, that's small, medium, large. Yeah. And so, as you said, if what you're doing is quite cheap, then donor will give small size grant, saying, okay, it sounds like it's enough in order to get the data provided to the international economic collective, processes such as specialist group and so on. And so let's stick to this level of funding. We don't need to go to the next level because that's not your core business. You are focused on data, which, as you said, is quite cheap. But if we want to switch to something else, such as deal with bycatch or deal with other topics like this, which are much more expensive from a field point of view, if you have to put people on boats and if you have to run boats and if you have to run aircraft or whatever, we all know that conservation on sea is much more expensive than on ground. Yeah. And then the big question is capacity of absorption on the ground. Who will be able to manage all this money? Small grant, it's not a big deal. Medium-sized grant becomes much more tricky. I mean, we need trust and the ability to manage, all the procedures and so on becomes a real big problem. And if we speak about big size, big grants, then it's the core problem.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you. I just would like to pick up on some of the points that were raised as to why IOC has been successful versus the Turtle MOU in West Africa. One of the big things have been the funders that have been interested in actually sponsoring some of the work that's been done in different regions. And I'm assuming that one of the biggest problem is that there wasn't enough data from West Africa to show that there was a problem and that something needed to be done. And I guess that the benefit of having these networks that are coming up everywhere is this data collection and information that's being pulled together to show the scale of the problem, but also to show how people are able to work together to bypass the data gaps and try and address some of the bigger issues in communities where they're still consuming sea turtles. And I guess maybe this is the right time to start approaching donors to say, well, we've set up these networks and this is what we can do with no funding. Imagine what we can do if we actually had funding. And the bycatch project was set up because there was MAVA, that was a big donor, but because it was also coordinated by BirdLife International, and they had to set up an office in Dakar to be able to manage not only that project but multiple other projects, and I think that's going to be a very, very big thing as well, like you said, because there have been a history of corruption and mismanaging funds, and funders are aware of this, and there needs to be a trust that's built with a certain NGO or entity that can bring that trust back, and whether that's CMS, whether it's one of the networks that is able to set up a collaboration with a bigger NGO, those are, I guess, the thoughts.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so I can speak about my region, which is the GAP region. And first of all, we have the same problems. We struggle so much to get funds. That's weird. Hold on. We struggle so much to get funds that we have no time to work on the net. We have a network already in Cabo Verde, but we have no time to worry about the network. And every single year we meet and we talk. We need to officialize that. We need to professionalize the network. Look for funds, but again, who's going to pay for that? No? Who's going to put $5,000, $10,000 per year to pay a salary for a couple of people, an office, and that's it? It's complicated. And regarding what we were talking now last, in our region, in West Africa, like a bit north, PRCM was doing a bit of like what you were saying, no, BirdLife. PRCM with MAVA funds had a project of 3 years, survival of sea turtles, or something like this, and they managed a bigger fund, because of course, like local NGOs, we don't have the capacity to do medium. I think we can, but not large. And so PRCM is doing that, and I foresee the future like this, like NGOs like PRCM, or in this case BirdLife, supporting networks, because otherwise we are way too field-based. That's the problem.
Yeah, thank you. Ahmed?
Alors, il faut toujours s'inspirer de la nature. Si on constate que la tortue marine c'est migratrice, elle est amie de tout le monde, elle est patiente aussi. À la fois, ce que nous faut, la société civile, c'est la patience, la stabilité de financement, comme ils disent mes collègues, et aussi surtout la culture du partage. Il nous faut d'abord penser à une plateforme. Ce sera en ligne, une plateforme, ce sera animé d'une façon journalière, peut-être pour s'inspirer des expériences des autres. J'y cite par exemple, on a changé tout le protocole après un stage à Mayo au Cap-Vert. On a s'inspiré de leur expérience de suivi de tortues marines. Jusqu'à maintenant, elle a donné des résultats, puisqu'on est en train de marquer plus que 50% des tortues. C'est vrai qu'on n'a pas beaucoup de tortues nidifiantes, c'est 46, mais on est à 50% des tortues qui sont marquées suite au changement de protocole. Alors si, par exemple, tout le monde s'inspire ou partage les savoir-faire, on pourra peut-être améliorer plus les suivis des tortues marines, surtout maintenant avec les nombres qui s'éclatent d'un jour à un autre. Il nous faut peut-être un changement de protocole, un changement de partenaire, et plus qu'on partage et on travaille ensemble pour le bien du monde des tortues marines.
Merci Ahmed. So we will have to close the debates because we are expanding the debate for tonight. No, so we need to finish it. And maybe Melanie, you have a final word for our meeting. Do you want to say something before we close the debate and this interesting session?
Well, thank you very much, Alexander. This has been very inspiring, and I wish I was there to discuss more with you all. But I think you and I can continue offline, and see if we can come to some conclusions and suggest ways forward.
Yeah, what I would propose to make a discussion list, like I don't know if it's a WhatsApp group or a mail list, and the people around here that want to participate and to to pursue the debate, they can, so that we find a way to work together. But yes, our intention as network is really to get closer to you, the CMS. So we will work together, I'm sure. And thank you, Melanie, for your participation.
I look forward to that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you to everyone, and I wish you a good evening.